All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about Chapter 7, Lesson 2, and Shays' Rebellion. So the first thing to understand about Shays' Rebellion and how it plays an impact on what we're going to do with our new Constitution is to understand that after the Revolutionary War, there was a depression. What a depression is, again, is that their country is not making enough money and people are not able to buy goods. So depression just isn't about people going hungry, although that's part of it. It actually means that people that are making things can't sell them anymore because no one's there to buy them. The biggest trade in America at this point in time that we're talking about in the Depression is farmers. So what's going to happen is farmers are going to have to borrow money to buy land. They're going to have to borrow money to buy seeds, to basically get people working to take the crops out of the fields. So most farmers stay in debt for a big part of the year because they're borrowing money, having to sell their goods, and then using all that money that they make to sell their goods to pay off all the people that they had to pay to borrow money from in the first place. Well, when the Depression hits, a bunch of farmers are already in debt. So they can't sell their crops anymore because no one's around to buy them. What's going to happen then is the farmers are going to start looking around at this government, and the government's going to do what the government is supposed to do. The government's going to say, you have to pay people your money. You have to pay your taxes. You have to pay people for the things that you've promised you're going to pay them. And the farmers are going to say, we can't. We don't have any money to do it. So the government takes their farms. The government takes their land. And once they do that, the farmers are going to start looking around and saying, this new government is just as bad as the old government we had from Britain. They're still trying to take our money. They're still trying to take our stuff. They're still taking away our freedom. They're not giving us the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because how am I going to stay alive if I can't support myself? How am I going to be free if you're taking all my stuff and threatening to throw me in jail for being in debt? And finally, how am I going to pursue happiness? How am I going to own things if I don't have the way to make my own livelihood, to make money? So a guy named Daniel Shays is going to get together with some people, and he's going to say, we need to do something about this. Just like the Americans did at the Revolutionary War against Britain. Daniel Shays actually fought in the Revolutionary War. He was a captain fighting against the British. And what he's going to do is he's going to get a bunch of farmers who've had their land taken, who have basically been in debt and are angry about this. And he's going to get them together and he's going to whip them into a kind of very crude army. He's got somewhere in the range at his peak of about 3,000 people working for him. So it's not like he's walking around with a few folks. What he's going to do first is he's going to go to the courthouse in Massachusetts and he's going to shut it down. He's basically going to say, I'm going to make sure you judges can't take away farmers' lands. And that's going to cause some problems. That's going to cause some stir. So he sets that down, but he realizes we don't have enough weapons to fight troops if we need to. So we need to find weapons. You can't have a good rebellion if you don't have any guns and stuff to stop the people that are going to come try to stop you. So he decides he's going to attack a military base. He's going to take his farmers and he's going to go to what's called a federal arsenal, where they store guns and cannons and ammunition and black powder, and he's going to take that stuff from them. So he marches his people to Springfield, Massachusetts, and he's going to take these guns and weapons and stuff so that he can lead a full-on rebellion against this government in the United States, the American government. It's not going to work out the way he wants to. Most of the time when farmers fight soldiers, soldiers win. A soldier's job is to fight. So he goes, he tries to take these guns. The soldiers that are guarding this arsenal, they fire their guns over his head and they scare him. But the people keep going. They're angry. They're mad. They're ready to fight for their land. They want to get their land and they want to keep the government from taking it. And they feel like they just had a fight with Britain to get freedom. So why won't they fight with America to keep their freedom too? So they keep marching. They march right at the soldiers. And the soldiers take their rifles and they fire directly into this crowd of farmers. They only kill 4 people, which in itself is kind of a small miracle. But it's enough to make all these farmers go, yep, peace, I'm out. And they leave. They run away. Daniel Shays' rebellion falls apart right there. But it's going to scare and it's going to concern the people that are writing the Constitution. They realize the government has to have more power, because if a big rebellion occurs, they're not going to be able to stop it. Shays was close enough that they need to do something about this from ever happening again. So it's going to go into the idea of the Constitution. Now, I want to talk about another difficult kind of concept to follow in this chapter 7, lesson 2, which is the 3/5 compromise. You're going to read about the Great Compromise, which is going to be the compromise between the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan. But the 3/5 compromise is going to be a compromise between southern states and northern states. So, there's going to be two kinds of government. There's going to be the Senate, and then there's going to be the House of Representatives. The Senate is every state in America gets 2 people to speak for them, no matter how big the state is. Rhode Island is going to get 2 people. When Texas becomes a state, they're going to get 2 people. Doesn't matter how many people live there. Doesn't matter how many miles it is. It matters everyone gets 2. The House of Representatives is going to be everybody gets a number of representatives depending on how many people live in your state. So, states with a lot of people like this idea because the House of Representatives is going to give them more power. They've got more people in the government speaking for them. Small states like the idea of the Senate because everyone is equal there. Doesn't matter if you're a small state or a big state. So this evens out the small and big states in America at this point in time. But we've still got this problem between the North and the South. So slavery is a big issue, and the Southerners want to use the people that they have enslaved to count towards their population of people. So the Southerners have this argument that says, we've got a bunch of people in our states. We've got regular wealthy people. We've got regular people that are farming. We've got plantation owners who are super rich. And then they've got all these people that are living on their plantations that count as people, as population. So we should get more votes in the House of Representatives for it. The northern states say, those people aren't free. You're not allowed to have votes for people that aren't free. Why would we let you represent those people in Congress? Especially because that means the southern states are going to have more power than the northern states. So, the 3/5 compromise is where they meet in the middle to kind of make this work. And what they're going to decide is that slaves count as 3/5 of a person for House of Representatives purposes. So, if a state, let's say South Carolina, has slaves, only 3 out of 5 slaves count as part of the population. 2 out of those 5 slaves don't count as part population, so that they won't get as many representatives in the House of Representatives. That's the goal of the 3/5 compromise. And what the northern states are trying to do here is limit southern power so that eventually they can maybe do something about the slavery issue. This is part of a long-term strategy to keep the South from gaining too much power and making slavery legal everywhere in America, which it was at that point, but people were already trying to get rid of it. People were already trying to free slaves from the South. People were already moving against slavery laws in the North and basically saying we need to get rid of these. And the 3/5 compromise is set up with the idea that we don't want the South to become too strong because then we'll never be able to stop them. Thank you.